Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jim Grant. Welcome to the show. Messages of Inspiration and Hope show is proudly brought to you by the good guys at speakerspathway.com and the 6 Minute Webinar. And most importantly, if it's okay if I share my screen with you, I'd like to show you a little bit about the 6 Minute Webinar and Speakers Pathway, but also to give you two free gifts. Okay, let me share my screen here. And let's see here. This is the home of Speakers Pathway Coalition. I scrolled down there a little bit too far, excuse me. And you can see at speakerspathway.com, we have 6 keys to the webinar. I'll show that to you in a moment. If you scroll down some, you'll see some of our wonderful speakers that we've had here on the show. And their individual presentations recorded there. If you click on See More, you will, and I'll show you that in just a moment. But the 6 keys, this is a very, very powerful tool for you to have. Dandy Don McGrath created this. This is about how to create a powerful webinar. This is a great platform for what we're doing on Saturday, October the 24th. We're putting on a 3-hour course about the 6-minute webinar. This is a hands-on working course where you'll be able to have a working copy in your hands on one of the things that you do. So the 6-minute webinar makes sure that you are talking to the right audience. Now, what I mean by that, if you're talking to someone about losing weight, that's all they want to hear. What problem do you solve about weight loss? They don't hear anything else, because that's where you're going to identify what the problem is, what your promise is. You're going to be able to show value. You'll be able to do a call to action. And since you're able to keep them there for 6 minutes, I got a phone ringing back here in the background. And let me cut that off. Apologize for that. Because it's a 6-minute webinar, you'll be able to keep them to the end. Now, this is the outline of the 6 keys to a webinar that sell. Don here talks about the right audience. He also, oops, pulled down the wrong thing there, excuse me. He also talks about the problem, gives you an outline there, how you clearly state the problem, how you use language that connects to the audience emotionally. That's very, very critical. We suggest you always speak and write and talk same thing, at the 6th grade level. Because if you use fancy words or impressive words that the general public does not understand, you're sending a message to them that anything that you're going to provide to them or sell to them, they won't be able to understand. And their subconscious mind will say, hey, I better not buy that. And that's where all buying decisions are made. Also to the promise. You want to clearly state your promise. You want to deliver on your promise. That's very critical. You got to show value. Tell stories that build trust and credibility, for example. And we go through all of this in detail during the 6-minute webinar boot camp coming up on Saturday, October the 24th. It starts at 12 noon Eastern time and goes through 3 p.m. Eastern time. And we have first webinar that we did for 3 hours. We had 45 people that joined us, and no one left after 3 solid hours, no bio breaks, no nothing. So to introduce you to the 6-minute webinar, all you got to do is just go to the 6-minute webinar, sixminutewebinar.com. And this little video right here, let me pull this down some. This will play, gives you an idea on the 6-minute webinar, what it's about. And again, you can register there. We've got links and stuff. So make sure you sign up for the 6-minute webinar. I forgot to share one thing about the messages of inspiration, hope. All of our previous speakers, they have their individual message here. And one of the ladies, she's a member of the Speakers Pathway Coalition, Anna Lynn Scott. If you click on her on her photograph there, it brings up her individual presentation. She talks about shifting direction during uncertain times. And there's a little bit of a write-up about her. Anna Lynn, and she's a wife, mother, author, and all that. I know her very well. Her and her husband have gone through a lot of things with his health, with his kidney dialysis, and she's very passionate about that. So most importantly, any speakers that you connect with, that they have a topic of interest to you, you listen to it, you appreciate it, you get some value from it, please let that speaker know. And if you know of someone else that could use this speaker's information, please forward it to them. I know they would greatly appreciate it. Now, I promised you 2 free gifts. You know where the first one is. It's at speakerspathway.com. Let me click back here again, go up to the top, the 6 keys. You know about that one. We just went through that, okay? That's it right there. Introduction to the 6-minute webinar. And Mr. Bill Heinrich. He is one of our, he is the co-founder of the speakers, co-founder of the 6-minute webinar, co-creator. And he has a free gift, and it's called myfreebook.me. That is the website you go to, myfreebook.me, no www or anything like that. Clarity has no story. This is his free gift to you. You just simply download it right there, and boom, it comes right in. It's an ebook. And this is great about getting clarity, because one thing we have found when people are trying to put together the 6-minute webinar or anything that they're trying to do, any kind of webinar or presentation, they lack clarity. If you'd like to know a little bit more about Mr. Bill, just go to truelifepurposenow.com. He is the author of the 7 Levels of Truth. I've got his book right here. I'll hold it up in just a moment. But you can read about Mr. Bill. He's also the co-host with me on the radio show, Your Future's Now on TogiNet. And so this is Mr. Bill's book right here, The 7 Levels of Truth. This is about a 25 years in the process. He answers the biggest questions of life. And again, if I turn it around here, you can see True Life. Let me move it up here. There we go. truelifepurposenow.com is his website. But be sure and get his free ebook, Clarity Has No Story, at myfreebook.me. Then you will see the value. One of our speakers is here. We've got another one trying to come on. We've had some technical difficulties here with Zoom. Imagine that. But Heidi Thompson, and let me go ahead and unmute her mic, and I'm going to ask her to turn her camera on and join us, if she would, please. Heidi, are you there? Did you get the request yet?
My video, there we are.
Yes, she is. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show this morning.
Thank you so much, because today, let me shut off this. This is why I like to have a technician behind the scene, do all this techie stuff, because Heidi, you're going to be talking to us about the 5 big mistakes in estate planning. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Well, let me do a couple things. First of all, let me give you the spotlight video, and let me shut off my video and mute my mic, and the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. So good morning. I'm Heidi Thompson. I'm your legacy lifeguard with Lifeguarding Legacies. I'm an estate planning attorney, so I help people to use wills and trusts to make sure that what they've worked for in their life goes flawlessly to their family members and the causes they care about. So estate planning, just in general, is not generally an inspirational topic. However, when people really do this right, they really do leave a legacy behind for their kids that is inspirational, versus so many people that don't leave it correctly behind and end up leaving a mess. So I'm going to walk you through 5 mistakes that I see people make very frequently in estate planning. And the first one is failing now, and I'll use all kinds of lifeguard metaphors because as a former teacher, that's definitely the world I come from. So the first one is failing to avoid the ruthless rays of probate. And if you've ever watched rays in the wild, they're beautiful creatures. They're so fluid in their movement. But you could ask Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, even the most experienced nature lover can still feel that fatal sting. Now, I'm gonna talk about a kind of pseudo character we're gonna call Frank this morning. And Frank's big mistake wasn't quite as big as Steve Irwin's, but it still stung his family. He made the first of 5 top planning mistakes. He believed that a will was all he needed, and he didn't consult with a lawyer along with that will to make sure that his plan would work. He owned a home that was only titled to him. So when he died, that triggered a probate on his house, which meant his family members had to come in and pay court fees and lawyer fees and go through a process that um, basically locked up his assets tighter than a tackle box for about 6 months while creditors could swarm around it and look at the assets and kind of file their claims against the estate. In Arizona, it's only $100,000 in equity that makes your house a probatable asset, or $75,000 of other personal property in just one name. Now, I can tell you it's very easy for most families to work around those numbers with good asset planning around an estate. They could have done a beneficiary deed on the house and it passes automatically without probate. Or he could have put the house in a trust and it could pass that way. So very easy and avoidable, but instead, to not be frank, I definitely encourage you to not rely on a will, which is really just a letter to the probate court telling them how you want your estate to be handled. Instead, make sure you've got a real asset plan in place. So the substitute for a will that a lot of attorneys will talk about is a revocable living trust. Those are big words, but revocable basically means during your lifetime you can change it. And living means it doesn't die. So anything that you put into it, so if on paper it's owned by the trust instead of by you, it lives on and it doesn't go through probate. So that is the alternative. So that's the ruthless raise of probate was our mistake number one, and it's avoidable with good asset planning, not just relying on a will by itself. Mistake number two is the jolting jellyfish of incapacity. Now, a lot of people think if they've got a will, they've completed their estate plan. Well, the will or the trust is really mostly about death. You also need a plan to prepare for incapacity. So, I've never actually done any scuba diving. I went through the whole training one day, donned the wetsuit, got ready to get out of the boat, and the water was filled with jellyfish. And I watched the dive instructor struggle to get out of the water and back into the boat before they canceled the diving expedition. And I was grateful because that looked absolutely miserable. When people think about incapacity, they automatically presume that we're talking about dementia, and that is a piece that is a part of incapacity. But incapacity is any time when you're not able to make the decisions for yourself. So that could be that you were in an accident and you have a couple-day period where you can't make decisions for yourself. That's why we need something in place. If you're even 18 years old, you need certain documents in place, a healthcare power of attorney, a financial power of attorney, and a HIPAA waiver in place to make sure that you've assigned the voices for you to family members who can speak on your behalf in a time of incapacity. Parents of 18 to 26-year-olds, I especially implore you to not make the mistake of thinking your kid doesn't need an estate plan. It sounds crazy. They don't have anything. Why would they need an estate plan? They need to be able to give you the voice to speak for them. So when you're sending kids off to college, along with those other checklists of things to take care of, definitely make sure you're sending them off with the legal instruments to give you a voice to still care for them. So that brings us to our third mistake, and I call those the war-waging eels of family strife. Now, I often share a National Geographic video that shows eels kind of battling, and it reminds me of two teenage girls fighting over a boy, to be perfectly honest. But it's that same idea. It's a very the mistake is believing that kids are going to get along after you die. There's an old joke in my line of work, and that's that criminal law is bad people on their best behavior. Family law is good people on their worst behavior. And estate law is nothing but family law with money. It's kind of a crazy thing to say, but sometimes people end up holding tighter to personal possessions when someone passes for all kinds of reasons than we like to think we're ever attached to possessions. One family depleted almost the entire family fortune with 5 kids all lawyering up and fighting over a $3 Hawaiian knickknack that they'd gotten on a family vacation that had been a big deal in their family. So it's not necessarily that they're fighting over the big monetary objects. It's usually those personal things that were important. So parents, when you're doing your estate planning, a good attorney is going to walk you through what were the sentimental items that the kids could want, and then make a plan for deciding where those will go so the kids are not left battling like war-waging eels. That brings us to our fourth mistake, which I call suffering the pirate's curse. Um, I love the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and I think Jack Sparrow may just be one of the most versatile actors of all time. But in his role in the Curse of the Black Pearl, there was a treasure that when any of the treasure was separated, it created a curse. And I find a lot of parents will leave behind a curse for their children. They'll have their estate set up to where when they pass, everything goes in one fell swoop to their kids. Well, that basically makes their kids like 90% of the millionaires out there that win the lottery. 2 years after they buy the lottery ticket, did you know that 90% are more broke than they were the day they bought the ticket? That's because most of us just aren't capable of dealing with large sums of money. We've not been conditioned to do that. We're conditioned to budget off of a steady stream of income. And so I really do encourage people when they set up a trust, because in a will, you're really just leaving things in one fell swoop. But with a trust, you do have that flexibility of doing structured payments over time to your kids, which can really keep them responsible, keep them budgeting, and keep them from suffering that lottery pirate's curse. Now, I will say, in 2019, there was a piece of legislation, the Secure Act, that did come in and make that a little more difficult. So if most of your wealth is tied up in IRAs, you're really going to need to talk to an attorney and your financial advisor about how that can be distributed over time, because now it's limited to just a 10-year span to be taxed and distributed. So we need to kind of maybe move some assets around if your plan is to leave behind something that's not a lump sum for your kids. And that brings us to our last of the 5 mistakes, and that is swimming with no lifeguard on duty. You know, I usually talk about Google here. My husband believes Google is the evil empire. He's a bit of a conspiracy theorist, and sometimes I have to say he just really isn't all that far off. It does seem like things are listening in on our conversations. Just a couple weeks ago, I was at a pool party, and I was talking about a vacation destination I'd never been to previously. And the next day on my Facebook feed, there is a resort at that destination that I had never Googled before or talked about before. So there definitely is something listening in. But I do love Google. You can search just about anything and get amazing answers. The danger is if you're searching for legal forms, you really don't know what you're getting. Is it current? Is it applicable in your state? Does it meet your community property laws or lack thereof? In Arizona, we have those. Is it really going to hold up and accomplish what you want? And is it going to be kind of custom fit to really hold up your family like a good life preserver? So my suggestion is to work with a good estate planning attorney that can really safeguard you from those dangers of the deep so that you don't make those estate planning mistakes, like swimming with no lifeguard on duty, and you're able to avoid those dangers. I'm Heidi Thompson, your legacy lifeguard with Lifeguarding Legacies. You can find me on the web at lifeguardinglegacies.com, email me at info@lifeguardinglegacies.com, or I'm all over social media. And you can always request my free book, Lifeguard Your Legacy, just by emailing me at info@lifeguardinglegacies.com. Thanks so much for the chance to share with you today the 5 mistakes in estate planning.
Wow, Heidi, I tell you right now, that was really an amazing presentation that you gave. And I tell you, it's amazing. You really blew me away when you said that the 5 kids squandered the family over what, a $3?
$3 knickknack. Actually, funny story. The attorney actually approached the judge, one of the attorneys, and said, they still sell these. Can I buy 4 more and just let them fight over those?
Yeah,
The
and
judge
you don't
said
know which
no.
one's which, just
Right.
makes it up. You might have got it's kind of like this is a horrible analogy, but it's kind of like the firing squad. They give the one guy the blank so the
Right.
person can have the doubt in their mind, so but this would be the reverse of course, but gosh,
Yeah,
it
I
just seems
know.
so childish. I mean, it's my
But we do have an attachment to those kinds
mhm,
of possessions that we don't think we have
you know.
until someone's gone and then we cling to something.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, it's
We only value the things that money can buy, the things that money cannot buy that we don't value. How about good health? I mean, I know we value that to some degree, but really, speaking for myself only, when I get sick, I get a cold or sniffle or whatever, after about 3 or 4 days, I demand to feel better. I'm tired of this stuff. And how about,
absolutely.
getting up in the morning, having heartbeat in your veins and breath in your lungs and all those wonderful things. My goodness gracious.
Hugs from your grandbabies. No
Yes.
amount of money,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
amount of money
Yeah.
is vacation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It really is. That's just amazing. I love the 5 tips that you gave. And I'm going to do I got a little time here. So let's do a little things here. I'm going to share my screen and let me get over here and see where I'm at here. Okay. Let me up and up a new. Okay. How can someone find your free book? I'm a slow typist, so talk real slow. I'm at an angle here too.
Well, I would actually encourage them to email me and I'll
Okay.
send them an e-copy. Otherwise, you can buy it on Amazon, but I don't
Hmm.
need to sell to people. I'm happy to share
Okay.
these tips
What,
if
what
they'll
is
reach
your
out.
what is your website, please?
Lifeguardinglegacies.com.
Lifeguard.
Dean, yep.
Is it
ING.
and A-N-D? Like
IING.
oh I-N-G.
Yes.
Lifeguarding. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm men-
Legacies.
I'm mentally challenged.
No, that's it.
Legacy.
Cease.
Dot, hmm?
I help more than one client.
Oh,
IES.
I-E-S. Okay.
.com. Yep.
.com. There we go. Whoops, I forgot the dot. My readers are in the bottom of my glasses, so I was going to tilt my head back. Let's go here. Let's see. Did I do that correctly?
That's the one.
That's it, huh?
Here we go.
My. There you are. Great day. And you visit the website welcome video right there, and you got your email there and everything. I mean, that's a nice website. It really is. Proudly serving Arizona with easy and affordable. How do you pronounce that word?
Concierge.
Concierge? Yeah, I'm
I
just kidding.
come to clients instead of them having to come to an office.
I do that to people, and service for wills, trust, and estate planning. So you work mainly with the Arizona state law, is that correctly? In the state of
Yes, I am limited to Arizona at this time. If I
Mhm.
had a good reason, I could add on Florida fairly easy, but that's still part of the long-term plan.
Sure, because different states have different laws and all that, don't
You
they?
have to be admitted to the bar to practice, and that's a fairly expensive
Mm,
investment in every state. So,
yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I tell you, it's really amazing to have you on here because, like you say, the message about having sharing the 5 biggest mistakes, the reason why the 5 biggest mistakes, I should say, that they make during estate planning. That's really a nice thing for people to know because this is what the show's all about, Heidi. We cover all different topics because, it's kind of like we tell people when you're doing a 6-minute webinar, you want to offer 3 different things because somebody might buy just because of one. And it's really amazing like that. And you've lived in Arizona and you're a grandmother, as I understand.
I am. Yes, I've got 2 grandkids.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Center
I'm
of
a
the
I'm a
universe.
I'm a grandpa, and my grandson is actually a Houston police officer in Houston,
Oh,
Texas. Yeah,
well, I pray for
yeah.
his safety. So
Well,
that's
thank you so much. We pray for all of our men and women in uniform, either in the military or law enforcement and first responders, because they really make our life worth living here in the United States. And
mhm.
it's a wonderful privilege to be able to wear a military uniform. I did one for 31 years. I spent 3 years active duty, 28 in the reserves. But most importantly, the thing that's really anemic in this country today is love and caring for one another. And just like you were saying about and I know families that fight over things and things of this nature, but when you get out of, when you're stuck in the physical, and you limit yourself, but when you get out of the physical, then you leave want, need, greed, and all those things that we don't like behind. You step into the abundance, and guess what? There is no limitation in the abundance of the universe.
That's right.
When it comes to love, you love yourself, you love others, and that's what Bill Heinrich is all about. That's his book there and all. But Heidi, what else would you like to share with the folks that you would like for them to know, or would be a nicety to know? Because I like the way you use, your expressions and all. I do the same thing.
Well, I try to, I'm a former teacher and
Mm,
counselor. So I definitely come from a different perspective. I haven't been a lawyer all my life. It was a late in life
mm,
career change for me. But it does use that same skill set I used in education.
mm,
I I don't do a lot of sales.
mm,
I really that's not where I'm at. I do a lot of education,
mm.
and some people that are near enough to me or in Arizona can use me to actually put together the plans for them. But I'm happy to just educate people out there
Oh,
because
yeah.
only about 28% of America has a good will or trust that would work for them right now.
Wow.
That's a lot of people that are going to leave a
Hmm.
mess for their families to clean up.
Oh, yeah. Because once the state gets involved, I mean, it becomes a legal nightmare. It really does. Because they bring up things you've never heard of before, and
Well, and it's not that the states are out there trying to be the bad guys. If you and I
Mhm.
sat at a table and said, all right, let's write a statute for how we want to handle people's property when they pass, honestly, what we would come up with is the same thing that we have as the statute. The
You're right.
problem is you still have to have people involved to make it happen,
Hmm.
where with the right planning, you really don't.
Yeah, hey, you're exactly right. Because every situation is different.
Yeah,
And that's what makes it so hard for any state to be able to legislate, regulate, and get everything in order because one size does not fit all.
right.
And you're exactly right. If you and I were, if we were the heads of that committee and we were writing it up, we'd, with me as your partner, we'd probably have a mess on our hands.
Not true. Okay, so let's talk that through for a second. If you're
Okay.
married and you
Mhm.
don't have kids, everything goes to your spouse.
Right.
We wouldn't want it any other way.
That's true.
If you're married and you have your kids in common, everything still goes to your spouse because your spouse is going to
Hmm.
live off what you've built and then leave it to your
Right.
kids.
Hmm.
So we'd still want it that way.
Hmm.
If you're
That's
coming in
correct.
from a blended family, half is going to go to your spouse and half is going to go to your kids. That also
Mm.
makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it
If you
does.
don't have a spouse or kids, it goes up to your parents. If your parents are gone, out to siblings, down to nieces and nephews, aunts and uncles, cousins. It kind of just follows the same sequence of nearest nearest kin. Now, here's where the challenge comes in. You have that, let's say you don't have kids, you don't have parents anymore. It goes to your siblings equally. And you've got
Hmm.
that one brother that doesn't manage money well, that you really didn't want to leave anything to. Sorry, the statute can't predict those family dynamics.
Right. Right.
So,
Hmm.
especially if you have family dynamics where you don't want the statute to be applied to you, you really
Hmm.
need an estate plan.
Absolutely, because I can see that because I really appreciate that because there's some people that just cannot manage money. And if you give them money, it's the worst thing you can give them because it's just going to
Yes.
ruin them. And you gave the perfect example about the lotteries.
Mhm.
And we all think if I won $40 million, I'd show you the exception. But I mean, it's just that's
No,
human nature. That's just a human, being human and one of our fallacies in life. And gosh,
you're
I don't
right.
think we're
Jim, are you still there? I think there may have been some technical issues. I'd be happy to answer questions. If you have any, you can always email me at info@lifeguardinglegacies.com. I wonder if Jim is going to jump back on here and join us. Let's see, what else can I share with you during this time? I can tell you sometimes I really like to work with grandparents, partly because I am one and it's the center of my universe. Hi, Jim. Welcome back. I started chatting it up.
One time I got kicked off the show 3 times, and I swore that the next time I came on, I would put on a pants that had a pocket full of quarters in it. And something, because I was sitting there looking at you, I was the screen was frozen, and I'm going, Heidi, are you still there? And I was the one that was frequency hopping.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay.
But
Well,
that's technology. Go ahead, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I did learn something, and this might be a general consumption treat for people. If you
Okay.
use any of the web-based storage programs, so like if you're using cloud-based storage for your files that does regular syncing, you can pause the syncing on your computer and it'll keep your streaming service from using that space, because
Hmm.
sometimes that'll knock you off there.
Oh, okay. Because we're recording to the cloud and we're doing all these things. And
Right.
good. I'm just glad it wasn't anything I said or did, because
Nope, not a bit. You're a
yeah.
fantastic host, and I really
Oh,
enjoy
well, thank you so
it.
much. It's really a pleasure because what makes this show so valuable and so popular, it has nothing to do with the host. I can assure you that. It has everything with great guests had, most importantly, the information that they share with the people. Because Messages of Inspiration and Hope show was originally, we started this, we met on a Wednesday, had a team meeting with the executive team, me and Don. We met with our executive training directors, and our attitude was, okay, we're in the middle of the pandemic just started. This was back in March. And this was on a Wednesday, and we kind of like, okay, what can we do to help our people, some of our members? Because a lot of people we were all restricted to our house. Some people had migrated into solitary confinement and Panicville. And our approach was, what can we do to help them?
Mhm.
And Bill Heinrich was the one who says, hey, let's just put on webinars, messages of inspiration and hope and support. And it was born. We started on Friday. On Monday, the following Monday, we did a call for speakers, and we had 100, and Don knows the numbers, but we had a buku speakers just
Wow.
raise their hand because everybody was stuck at home. And that's what generated the popularity in this show. That's why it became so popular. And being the host, all you do is just sit here and try to say something intelligent and make sure the information flows and goof up the cameras and all that. I got a degree in that. If you need somebody to goof up something, just contact me. I got a PhD in that, no problemo. But Heidi, I'll tell you right now, we get out to Phoenix every now. We haven't been to Phoenix this year, wonder why, but we get out to Phoenix from time to time. Donna Guimau is a good friend of mine out there in Phoenix. In fact, she's going to be co-hosting me with me on one of the shows, on the Message of Inspiration show when we go on the TV streaming. And wonderful people. I've got wonderful friends out there. We got several wonderful members out there. When we get out there to Phoenix, I'd like to invite you over and meet the family, because that's what we are. We're family. We
I
help
love
one another. We care for one another. And that's what this is all about. This is about reaching out and helping people. And we don't do it for the money. We really don't. And because, that's not important, because what's really, what we find, Heidi, is just so electrifying. When we share things and help others and all that, guess what? Things come to us. And that's exactly what happened with the offer for the streaming TV show. I didn't knock on anybody's door or anything. He'd probably say, you're who and you want what?
I definitely believe in that. I believe in the
Yes.
principle of the harvest. You plant an apple
Yes.
seed, you're going to get an apple tree.
Mhm.
When I was working in the school counseling world and helping kids, I really felt like the more I poured into other people's children's
Mhm.
lives, the more I
Yes.
saw other adults pouring into my children's lives. I saw this same kind of harvest.
Yeah. That's what Bill Heinrich has taken probably a couple of years. And then I've known Bill for about 3 years, really. And he is, it took a long time for me to shift that mental gear. I'm an old retired master sergeant, but Bill talks about, getting out of the physical. He says, only two emotions, there's fear and there's love.
Oh,
And
yeah.
in fear, you're stuck in the physical. Do I have enough? I'm trying to survive. I'm worried about, how am I going to pay my bills, all that stuff. He says, once you get out of that and you get into love and abundance, everything else, is perfect for you.
Yeah.
He
Well,
says,
perfect love drives out fear.
yeah, it does. It does. And again, his free book is myfreebook.me. Clarity has no story. And of course, you go to his website, and I don't get anything for this. In fact, Bill was doing a deal there for a while. He's in this motorhome, and the pandemic really shot him down. But his book, The 7 Levels of Truth, if I can show that again, and True Life Purpose Now, it sells on Amazon for $19.95. But Bill had a deal there before the pandemic, and he was going to go on a world tour. I mean, not a world tour, but a national tour. And he was just telling people, hey, just contact me and I'll just, whatever shipping handle is, and I'll give it to you, But it's a tremendous book, and it's all about love. So if you're out there and you're worried about something, or if you've got some nightmares in your mind, as I like to call it, please seek help, because there's people out there that care about you, people out there that love you, they want to help you. And most importantly, let go of everything that just gnaws at you. You don't need it. All it does is rob you of your strength. It robs you of your health. It robs you of being you, because you're that special. And Heidi, I'm going to give you a chance to say some parting words to the folks out there tuning in, listening live on Facebook. In case I drop off, they'll be listening to your wisdom. If you'd like to share some things, please.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. I really do hope that you will avoid those mistakes. If you've got those babies, you hold them close. You make sure that you've got a plan to take care of them. You get those extra grandbaby hugs today, and recognize that the legacy you're leaving is an important one, and it's worth guarding.
You bet. Thank you so much. Those are very encouraging words. And ladies and gentlemen, I like to close every show with the wishing people out there, if it's your birthday today, happy birthday to you. And remember, on your very special day, because your birthday is your very special day, all birthday cakes and the desserts that you love, they are health food. So be sure and treat yourself, be good to yourself, love yourself. That way you can love others. On behalf of Heidi and myself, thank you so much for tuning in today. We hope you have a blessed day. Take care. And I'm just going to wave bye. Would you like to wave bye? Okay. A wonderful day. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.